Welcome to the Next Level Human podcast. As a human, you have a job to do. In fact, you have 4 jobs: to earn and manage money, to attain and maintain health and fitness, to build and sustain personal relationships, to find meaning and make a difference. None of these jobs are taught in school, and that is what this podcast is designed to do. To educate us all on living our most fulfilled lives through the mastery of these 4 jobs. I'm your host, Dr. Jade, and I believe we are here living this life for 3 reasons and 3 reasons only: to learn, to teach, and to love. In this podcast, I will be learning, teaching, and loving right along with you. I'm grateful to have your company. Here's to our next level. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's show. I have a very interesting guest, and his name is Khaled Kteily. Welcome to the show, my friend. So excited to have you. Before I get you talking, let me just tell the listeners a little bit about you and me and our relationship. Actually, so I've done a couple sort of podcasts here lately with individuals who I don't know at all. This is the first time Khaled and I are actually meeting. And we have a mutual friend who hooked us up, Chase Tuning, who knows, I suppose, that we were going to hit it off. And as soon as I heard what Khaled's doing, I immediately said, okay, I know this is why Chase set us up, because from my perspective, the idea of the Next Level Human podcast is about highlighting people and businesses that are making a difference in the world in places where it is absolutely required. And one of the issues that we are having, and it's not talked about much at all, is in the male health field. So infertility is a huge issue. Testosterone levels are dropping in men. Sperm counts are dropping in men. We don't actually know a lot about why this is happening. We know that it's happening, and maybe Khaled's going to be able to educate us a little bit on what's going on here. But he is taking this on, which is a very courageous thing to do, because think about it. This is an area that not many people want to address. It's kind of this taboo sort of topic. And so I'm excited to sort of get you on, Khaled, to help us understand what is going on. And so I'm just going to let you go ahead and tell us what and how did you get into this work? Why is it so important? And what do the listeners need to sort of understand? Because rest assured, you all who are listening, you're going to be running into men who are going to need this service. So let's kind of start right there, man.
Let's do it. Well, first of all, Dr. Jade, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm glad Chase introduced us. And we're going to be talking together. We're going to be going on a journey together with all your listeners on a topic that I'm guessing they have not spent a lot of time thinking about, and that is the topic of sperm. So at a very high level, what I do, so I founded a company called Legacy. We help men test, improve, and freeze their sperm without ever having to go to a clinic. And so you might ask, first of all, why should I care about my sperm? I thought that fertility is really only something that women have to worry about. Well, actually, that's wrong. Over the last 40 years, testosterone levels, you've pointed this out, testosterone levels have gone down by half. So have sperm counts. They've gone down by 50 to 60%. We are at the very beginnings of a male fertility crisis. And it's one of the big reasons why couples are having more and more trouble conceiving when they do try to have a child today. And so we make it easy for a guy. All you have to do is you go to our website, you order a kit online, you receive the kit the next morning. You produce a sperm sample from home, you push a button on our website, we come, we pick it up, we test it, we freeze it. And so this matters because now you are able to preserve your youngest, healthiest sperm. And the same way that we talk about women having a biological clock, well, men have a biological clock as well. It's just a little bit slower than women's. And so I think for your listeners and the kind of folks who would tune into a podcast like this, they're thinking about, next level human, how to be the best version of yourself. Where is the future going to take us? I'll tell you where the future is going to take us. And I'll start off with something a little bit more, doomsaying. But it is, we are moving towards a world where men and women are not able to conceive naturally. We are moving towards a world where couples will have to use IVF or other forms of assisted reproduction to even be able to build the kind of families that they want to have. And so what we say to men is, hey, learn about your sperm, test your sperm, freeze your sperm, and you know that for the rest of your life, you will be able to have kids how and when you want because you have just frozen and stored the youngest, best, healthiest version of you.
Yeah, I love this because, obviously, as a naturopathic physician, I have gotten this issue a lot. Mainly, almost exclusively, it comes from women. Women
Mm-hmm.
having issues, women sort of wanting to say, hey, I want to get pregnant. I'm not able to get pregnant. I don't have menses. I need my menses back.
Mm-hmm.
With men, this is an issue that I think is really critical. Most men do not want to think about this, are embarrassed to talk about it with their physicians, and especially are resistant to going into any clinic and doing anything where they're getting any kind of genital exam, any kind of collection of sperm, or any talk of erections and fertility in general. And one of the things I love
Yeah.
about this right away is, it's funny. I actually, with a friend of mine, had a time where I was going to go into a business with someone that basically used extracorporeal shockwave therapy, which is a treatment for erectile dysfunction. And one of the things that we talked about is we can't have this in the clinic. We need to have almost like a mobile truck that goes to the man, that teaches the man to do it himself so that he can do it behind a curtain and get this treatment, because men simply do not typically want to engage with this and are embarrassed about it in the first place. So to me, what I love about what you're talking about already is you're basically tapping into the male psychology almost immediately, saying we're going to make this super easy for men. And rest assured, I have seen probably 20 to 30% of the cases that I've worked with that are infertility, it's coming from the man. And eventually you find that out years later, and it causes all kinds of issues in relationships. And so for you women listening to this, this is going to be critical. And for you guys listening to this, whether you're dealing with the issue or not, one of your friends at some point is going to be dealing with this. And so I think this is a really interesting way to address a significant problem. So tell me where you want to go next with this, because I know you have a lot of things you want to share in terms of why this is critical and why you yourself stumbled upon this and saw this as part of your purpose.
Yeah, and actually, let me talk a little bit more about my purpose and share a bit more about why I started the company. But before I do that, I want to say, men are actually half of our customers. Women are the other half. And so even though it's a male fertility product, women are so much more thoughtful about the topic of fertility than men are. Women have been taught from a very young age they need to be thoughtful about their fertility. I mean, society has this very outdated view that fertility is a women's issue. Even though, to your point, actually, couples that are unable to conceive, about a third is due to male factor infertility for heterosexual couples, about a third is female factor infertility, and about a third is either joint or unexplained. And so that means that men do need to be more proactive. A lot of times it's actually their female partner who's the one who's buying the kit, shepherding them through the process of doing it, following up on the results, scheduling a telehealth call, and so on. So I actually, I always say I didn't grow up dreaming of starting a male fertility company. I don't know any 7-year-old out there who's like, I can't wait to start a sperm freezing company, mama. Right? I don't imagine that. So I went through a personal experience about probably 6 or 7 years ago by this point, where I got burned really, really badly. I was holding on to 4 very hot coffees and teas. We're sitting in the passenger seat of a car. We're driving down the highway. We have to brake all of a sudden. And as we brake, all 4 of those scalding hot teas and coffees fall all over my lap. So I get 2nd-degree burns. I was hospitalized. It took about a month and a half to recover, but thankfully 2nd-degree burns do heal. They heal fully. And so at some point I was able to wear pants again. I got back to normal again. But like anyone who has had scalding hot liquids anywhere near their genitals, I think one question you ask for yourself is, well, imagine I had lost my ability to have kids. Imagine I was not able to have children in the future. Imagine it had been worse. And, I've always imagined myself as a husband and a father, and I want to have a family of my own. And I want kids who, frankly, look a little bit like me, right? At least look half like me. And so it really was just a very profound thought. And I said, well, first of all, let me go to a sperm clinic, test everything, make sure everything's still working, which it was. But more importantly, let me freeze my sperm so that if I ever have an accident in the future, if I get sick, if I get injured, whatever, let me know that I can still have kids in the future. So that's what I did. I was living in Cambridge, Massachusetts at the time. went over to the local sperm bank right next door to my favorite Chinese restaurant, which was kind of weird vibes going in, although I actually think that it helped put me in the mood. And went through the process and just found the whole process so sterile, clinical, awkward, uncomfortable. And I was basically walking to that clinic, like shielding my face. I didn't want anyone to know that I was going to a sperm clinic, right? Why would you want anyone to know that? It's such a stigmatized topic. How do you tell someone, hey, I'm worried that I might be infertile? And so coming out of that, one, when I got my results, this huge wave of relief washed over me. Like, it's working. I'm fine. I can have kids in the future. It's amazing. But the second thought was, wow, I now know that no matter what happens to me, I will be able to build a family on my own terms. And then the third, which my business instincts kicked in. And I said, my God, why is this not a no-brainer for every man? Why is every man not doing this? And I thought through the reasons. I'm like, well, one, it cost me $1,000. It should cost really a couple $100. Two, it's incredibly inconvenient because I need to go to a clinic to do it. And three, the whole process feels like I'm being treated for a medical disorder. I feel like I'm going in because I'm sick, whereas we want men to feel like they're investing in this because they're healthy. And this is what pushed me down the path of starting Legacy. So I learned more about sperm than I had ever imagined. My friends used to and still do call me the Sperm King, which is a very heavy crown that I have accepted. I joined the American Society for Reproductive Medicine, and I started to build a team around me. And so now we have a team. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just really interesting to me because we talk a lot on this podcast about the idea of purpose. And I just want to point out to everyone here that, because I get this, the question I get asked all the time in terms of purpose. It's like, well, how do I find my purpose? And I'm like, well, you actually don't. You create it or choose it. And it oftentimes comes out of a not delightful event. Usually it's painful. There's
traumatic
suffering.
experiences.
Traumatic experiences are normally what get you there. And to me, I oftentimes say too, purpose is different than meaning. Meaning is something that is for you, that you take. It's kind of more selfish, but purpose is what flows from you based on these experiences. And so I just want to draw that attention here that this is, like you said, we don't always dream about the thing that is going to make the big difference or the thing that is going to make us, sort of feel this sense of fulfillment in the world. This is something I want to point out, that this is something that happened to you, that you basically were like, I feel like based on this experience, I can improve the world in a way that is unique to me and speaks to this sort of thing, which that's why I love the idea of legacy. I've oftentimes said that word in itself, a lot of people see legacy as sort of a egotistical type of thing, right? Like, ooh, I want people to remember me. But I think I've always thought of legacy as what you leave behind without need for acknowledgement or reciprocation that just makes the world better after you leave. That's essentially what you were doing here. So I just wanted to point that out.
I love that. And, legacy is a very nuanced and multi-layered word, in part because we don't define the kind of legacy that you leave behind. You can leave behind a bad legacy and you can leave behind a good legacy. We enable you to leave your legacy, and what you do with that power is up to you. And legacy can have very negative connotations. There was a legacy of slavery, right? It can have very positive connotations, a legacy that a president has left behind. And so we are really giving you the power to choose your own adventure, choose how you want to define your legacy. And ultimately what we're doing for men and for their partners is, A, we are changing this outdated idea that fertility is a women's issue. B, we are helping men who want to be active husbands, who want to be active fathers. We are helping rebalance the responsibilities and expectations around family planning, both for them and for their partner. And then C, what we are doing is, we are helping people. We are giving people the freedom to choose what kind of family they want to have, how they want to have it, and when they want to have it. And through that, we're enabling them to leave behind the legacy that they choose to leave behind.
I'm sorry to break into the show, but I wanted to take a second to cover one of our sponsors and tell you all about Paleo Valley at paleovalley.com. These are the grass-fed sticks that I tell you all so much about, that all of my friends know I have on hand constantly. They are in my car. They are at my house. I keep them at my sister's home and my parents' house. I have these things everywhere because they are the simplest, most convenient whole foods protein supplement you can get. Almost like carrying around pure protein, low carb protein in your pocket. They also, these Paleo Valley beef sticks are the only 100% grass-fed and grass-finished beef sticks on the market. They use organic spices. They are naturally fermented instead of using nitrates and nitrites that can be a problem in some of these cured meats, and they simply taste fantastic. Check out the original or the jalapeno. Those are my favorites. Please make sure you go over to paleovalley.com and visit. When checking out, use the code NEXTLEVEL for a 15% discount. Remember, our sponsors keep the show going by you giving them your patronage and spending your money on these high quality products. You actually do a few things. One, you're helping to support the podcast. And two, you are helping your health. And three, you are making sure that good quality companies like Paleo Valley can be out there doing their business, changing the world, making the earth better. One of the things you may not know about this is that grass-fed organic and grass-finished beef is doing something that is so utterly important for our environment, actually helping to repopulate the topsoil. A lot of people don't know this, but our topsoil is being extremely depleted. And raising animals, especially cattle, the correct way helps to get that topsoil back. This is one of the reasons why I love Paleo Valley. Not to mention it tastes fantastic, but they're one of these companies, like my other sponsors, Cured Nutrition and Organifi, that are doing the right things by the environment. I really appreciate everything they do, and I hope you will check them out. Thanks so much. PaleoValley.com. Use the code NEXTLEVEL. And now back to the show. It is time to talk about one of our sponsors, our earliest sponsor, Cured Nutrition. This is a CBD company. Cured Nutrition is another one of those next level human companies that is doing amazing things in the world. Let me tell you a little bit about one of the things I've been doing with CBD here recently. There is some really interesting research showing that chronic cannabis users, these are people who are smoking marijuana, are actually down-regulating the cannabinoid 1 receptor. Well, guess what the cannabinoid 1 receptor is involved in? Well, it's involved in cravings and hunger. And there is some really interesting mouse research that shows mice given products that lower CB1 or being engineered with a lower CB1 activity actually eat less and are not obese as a result of that. And so I have been experimenting using CBD to lower hunger, to down-regulate the CB1 receptor, just the way chronic cannabis users tend to be very thin. And it has been working very well. Now, of course, the other thing that I use this for and have used it for since day one is Cured Nutrition has a product called Zen that is a mix of magnesium and CBD and some other really nice formulations in there that I use to help me sleep. I have notoriously bad sleep. My sleep still is not perfect, but the Cured Nutrition product Zen has made a big difference to helping me sleep better. And that is just huge. Now, of course, they have other products. They also have a product called Rise, which I do not use, but I have used in the past. It is great for those people who like to have a pick-me-up in the morning to focus better. So Zen and Rise are fantastic, but any of their CBD products used for downregulation of the CB1 receptor to help with hunger and cravings, if you're one of these people who is constantly overeating and on a diet, you find that, hey, when I'm on a diet, I get this crazy sort of hunger and cravings. This may be something you want to check out. So check out curednutrition.com. Use the code NEXTLEVEL. I get a kickback to help us have these discussions on the show. It's a great way for me to be able to do this work. So thank you for Cured Nutrition for that. Of course, Cured Nutrition gets the sale, and you get to work with a fantastic company that gets results with their supplements. I hope you will check them out. curednutrition.com. Use the code NEXTLEVEL. And now let's go ahead and get back to the show. Let's do it. Yeah, and with this, so let's walk through the process. So let's say,
Yeah,
so a man, I send in my sperm, and you find issues with it, or are you looking for issues?
yeah,
And then what
yeah,
happens then? I want to understand
yeah,
sort of the process if issues come up, and you're like, well, Jade, you have
yeah.
low sperm count, or your sperm are not swimming well,
Mm.
or whatever it may be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the way it works is, you go to the website, givelegacy.com, you place an order, you get the kit, you masturbate at home. You produce a sperm sample, you add to the sperm sample basically a sperm preservative that keeps it alive for up to 48 hours. You add it to the sample, you close it back up, put it back in the box, you push a button, we come pick up the box, we send it to our lab. When it gets to our lab, the first thing we do is we wash the sample. So we remove the preservative from the sperm. We then conduct a full semen analysis. So this is exactly what you would get at a clinic, and frankly, in some cases, more advanced than what you would get at a clinic. So we look at volume. How much are you producing? We look at, like how much semen is there. We look at count and concentration, which is how much sperm is there, how much sperm is there per milliliter. We look at motility, which is how well your sperm is swimming. We look at morphology, which is how normal or abnormal your sperm are. So we do a full analysis. After that point, we put it into short-term cryostorage. And the reason for this is you basically flash freeze it. You make sure it can be frozen for the future. If someone has any abnormalities or they're subfertile, we have a few different options. The first of which is, we have our own line of supplements that we've created that a person can always choose to take in order to try to increase the parameters of their sperm. We also offer them telehealth consultations for free with either a nurse who's a specialist or with a doctor who's a urologist. And depending on the level of results, if there's anything to be concerned by, we walk them through the results, we talk them through what to expect, and we refer them to clinics that we've worked with in the past that we trust. So let's say you have a varicocele, which is a common reason for why someone wouldn't be producing sperm. We can help direct them to folks that we know would be able to help them address that. In this case, it might be a lifestyle intervention or it might be a surgical intervention. And the goal is just to make sure that every step of the way, there's someone who's there kind of by your side, not quite holding your hand, but just guiding you through the whole process.
Yeah, and so it sounds like when you freeze a sperm, is that so that you can keep that sperm in case, again, you get injured or something you lose? I know you talked a little bit about you work with veterans who are out in the field. They can easily get injured.
Yeah.
The sperm is there for them if they lose reproductive ability, right? So that essentially stays there for them for their use, it sounds like. I am also interested in what you're doing with these supplements. So, for, let's say I have low sperm volume, is there a supplement for that? Are there ways to increase that volume? If I have poor motility, are there ways to increase that? I mean, I'm aware of some of these things, but I want to hear what you have found in that arena and, sort of the results you've seen.
Yeah, you have in general, you have to be very careful with what supplements you're taking, because in a lot of cases with supplements, there are correlations, not necessarily causations, or there's a mixed bag of evidence. So, I mean, the general rule is it typically can't hurt to take additional vitamins or minerals, but you want to focus on those that are the most effective. So in our case, for sperm, CoQ10 is the most effective. It's the primary active ingredient in our supplements. There's a number of other vitamins or minerals that you can add, and we've actually built out our own custom blend that has been vetted and basically built by our chief medical officer, who is a urologist. But at its simplest, if you want to take supplements for your sperm, CoQ10 is a great place to start.
Great. Yeah. And so let me ask you about this then. So with sort of sperm counts and things like that and CoQ10, what if I have, sort of an issue where with my sperm, I'm basically seeing, okay, there's low volume, low motility. Obviously, you're not going to, be able to hold on to that, sort of sperm because it's not really viable. And so at that point, you're obviously referring out, giving supplements. And then what happens? Do I resubmit again to essentially freeze that sperm again? So are we essentially looking at a situation like, okay, Jade, we need to get your sperm sort of higher volume, higher concentration, better motility, and then we are going to get another sample. How does that work if the first sample is just not able to be functional for me over the long run?
Yeah. Here's one very, very interesting point. But before I say that, is we have some men who just choose to test on an ongoing basis. Sperm is actually a great biomarker of your overall health. And so actually there's value in testing your sperm because it gives you a sense of how healthy or unhealthy you are. And so we have some folks who just choose to test every few months. But interestingly, So when we freeze the sperm, typically you are freezing millions and millions of sperm, even for someone whose parameters are a bit below average. And if you are ever going to use the sperm in the future, the saying in the industry is it only takes one. And in fact, if you're going through any form of assisted reproduction like IVF, which is what most people know, there's new techniques. For example, one is called ICSI, intracytoplasmic sperm injection, where you will take one healthy sperm from the sample that is millions of sperm that have been frozen, you inject it directly into the egg to create an embryo that then gets implanted. And so actually, if you are just doing this, to protect against the risk of any future accidents or issues or anything like that, as long as you are able to freeze one sperm, and most men are freezing millions, then you will still be able to use the sample in the future.
That's an interesting thing. So it's basically like, do you have men who are not interested in fertility and are mainly using this just as a biomarker to see how healthy they are? Do you have any of those that you're aware of?
We've had quite a few folks come to us because Dave Asprey has spoken about us in the past. And it's one of those things where if you're in the biohacking community, you want to know everything, right? You're probably using a levels glucose monitor, right? You might be using Whoop to track your heart rate. You might be using your Apple Watch to track how well you're sleeping, whatever. For the same way you would want to track your sperm to see how it's doing. And so I know that because I test my sperm, on a biweekly or monthly basis with a company. And I can actually see when I'm going through stressful periods in my life. Because during those times, my sperm quality goes down because I'm not sleeping as well. I'm not eating as well. I have high levels of stress. And so I'm actually able to track my own progress, the ups and downs that are so closely linked to what's happening with the company.
And do you guys do anything around testosterone therapies and things like that? And more what I'm asking there is, have you seen, testosterone is an interesting thing for men, something that I have prescribed an awful lot. And one of the things that happens, especially when it comes to erectile dysfunction, many men will say, oh, give me testosterone. And it's a tricky thing, right? Because testosterone can actually make erections worse. There's sort of this Goldilocks zone for prescribing testosterone. You don't want too little. You definitely don't want too much. And so one of the things I wonder about, what have you seen in terms of that with sperm quality, with people who are on TRT? And does that show up, or is that something you're not paying much attention to here?
So we don't offer any testosterone replacement ourselves. TRT, or testosterone replacement, artificial testosterone that you are putting into your body, your sperm counts will plummet. There's a number of biological reasons for why this is, but basically the artificial testosterone throws out of whack the way that your body naturally produces testosterone. And as a result, causes your body to basically cease producing sperm. And so we sometimes have men who are on TRT who come to us with extremely low sperm counts, and it's because of that. And so for anyone who's thinking about starting TRT, freeze your sperm first, because it will significantly affect your sperm count. On the flip side, if you want to make sure that you don't get pregnant with your partner, actually TRT might be a great way, because your sperm counts will go down pretty significantly.
Yeah, and actually that's why I brought it up, because I just wanted a complete discussion here. One of the things, I have certainly done this sort of in my late 30s, early 40s. I was on TRT, and I was essentially keeping my sperm count fairly low. One of the things that men don't know, frequent masturbation plus TRT therapy will dramatically decrease your sperm volume. And it acts, I'm not recommending that you necessarily do this. Wear a condom if you really don't want to get someone pregnant, but it does act as a form of male contraception. And for those of you who are wondering about this, who have to be on TRT and you want your sperm counts up, this is one of the reasons why we'll give HCG in addition to TRT to keep your sperm count up. And it's just a really good point here, because I'm sure a lot of men, I certainly have seen this, where a lot of men don't understand this, and they actually think because testosterone might be helping with their erections, that it's helping with their sperm counts, and it's actually the opposite of that. So is there any other things that men should know that you've seen are just common misunderstandings here in the male fertility space, and other things that you would say, here are the things that you really want to be doing to keep your sperm counts up, or even if you want to keep them low because you're, trying not to get, someone pregnant?
I think in this world, men like Mick Jagger are our worst enemies, because Mick Jagger had kids into his 70s. And so every guy thinks to themselves in the back of their heads, like, hey, no matter what, I'm going to be good. I can have kids even in my 60s or 70s. What men don't know and really should know is, first of all, sperm counts go down, sperm quality goes down every single year you get older, basically from 18 onwards. The second is there are all kinds of negative pregnancy outcomes associated with being an older father, what's known as advanced paternal age. So this ranges from things that might affect your partner. So your likelihood of having a miscarriage is higher if you are an older father, all the way to your child, where your child is significantly more likely to be born with a congenital condition like autism if you are an older father versus if you are a younger father. And so what men need to know is actually if you are freezing your sperm today, then you are locking in and preserving the youngest, healthiest sperm that you have. Particularly important if you are thinking about going on TRT, if you are thinking that you're going to be exposed to any sort of risks. And you mentioned men in the military. So one of the things that we do is actually we are the exclusive partner of the Navy SEALs. So every Navy SEAL, as part of their basic training checklist, will test and freeze their sperm with legacy because they are at risk of being wounded in action, killed in action. They want to make sure that they are still going to be able to have kids in the future, no matter what happens to them. And in fact, men in the military are twice as likely to face infertility as regular men. Part of the reason for this, we believe, this is not confirmed, but it could be everything from exposure to things like burn pits, but more realistically is just the chemicals that they're exposed to on a daily basis. If you are being deployed in a country where there's any sort of chemicals and the munitions that are being dropped, you're being exposed to all kinds of new risks. You're more likely to be physically wounded as well. And so, if you're in a job where you're either exposed to chemicals or there's physical risk to you, then you should be thinking about this as well, right? What do you want to have a family? And if so, what are the steps you should be taking today to make sure that you can?
Yeah. I know you have a plane to catch. You're getting ready to travel. So we can go ahead and wrap up this, but I want to just real quick to-dos, right? So obviously, if I'm hearing you correctly, every man listening to this, and there's going to be a lot of women listening to this, if you are wanting to be a father and you plan on doing that, your youngest sperm, your most healthy sperm are right now. And so one of the things that you want to do is get those sperm frozen and ready for action just in case. So that obviously is the first thing here. Second thing in here is how do we keep our sperm? This will be the final thing sort of I'll ask you. How do we keep our sperm functioning into older age? And so I know you have lines of supplements. One of the things that I would say that I have seen, and I just want to sort of get, since you are the expert in the space, and see if you would add anything to this. To me, one of the things I'm looking at is testosterone. There's a Goldilocks effect there. Yes, you want enough, but you don't want too much. That's critical. Vitamin D, as in David, is one thing that is absolutely critical. Zinc, selenium, some of these things, CoQ10, L-carnitine. Certainly L-carnitine is one of these supplements that I have used for male fertility for a long time. And I oftentimes use adaptogens as well, since the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and the gonadal axis are, sort of very, very important in eliciting, testosterone responses and, sperm responses. Is there anything else that you would say for men that I'm missing here that is really important? I mean, obviously we have lots of lifestyle things, alcohol effects, marijuana effects. I'm just wondering if you've seen anything that that you can essentially say, hey, look, guys, and women who are with men, these are the things you really want to be thinking about.
I think the most important thing to know is that it takes sperm about 2.5 to 3 months to go through the full maturation process in the body. And so actually the changes you make today may not be reflected for another couple of months. If you are really focused on improving your sperm counts, and I think a lot of the minerals and vitamins that you recommended are associated with improved semen parameters, like L-carnitine, ashwagandha as well, selenium, all of these, there have been studies showing some positive impacts. It's not quite as clear as CoQ10, but certainly I think that those would be valuable to take as well. The changes you should be making if you want to improve your sperm count, particularly if you're thinking about trying to have kids, is, focus on your stress levels, focus on how much you're sleeping, focus on how much you're eating. Many of the same lifestyle changes that you would want to make to live a better, healthier lifestyle, because sperm is a great overall biomarker for your health. They're the same things that will improve your sperm quality. So, even if it's a 2 to 3 month period, if you can focus on eating right, working out right, sleeping right, that'll make a huge difference in terms of your semen parameters.
Are there any other, Khaled, are there any other biomarkers in sperm that you find useful? That, I mean, it sounds like you're not really doing that right now, but I know there's different things like spermidine and, different concentrations like fructose in sperm and other things. There's a little bit of testosterone in sperm. Have you guys looked at, sort of some of these biomarkers in sperm? And do you see that as potentially being something that your company will do in the future, looking at specific biomarkers?
I love this question in part because a couple of months ago, we were the first company to launch a DNA fragmentation test. So we are actually able to test how much DNA damage there is in your sperm. And this is quite an advanced form of semen analysis. But the reason this matters is because the more DNA damage you have in your sperm, the more likely you are, for example, to have a miscarriage, the more likely you are to have negative outcomes, negative pregnancy outcomes. And so understanding that as part of a semen analysis is actually quite important to help you understand the likelihood that you're going to have to go down the path of IVF.
Not only that, it's telling you a little bit. It's probably a surrogate marker for DNA damage across the body.
I would believe so.
All right, man. Listen, I really appreciate you being on. This is, I think, critically important. I also just want to say thank you for your work. I mean, when you think about how people get to where they get to, this is one of those things that is hugely, hugely important and something that most people don't want to think about, don't want to necessarily discuss. It's a taboo topic. And I just want to say, I'm amazed by people like you who take this stuff on and make a huge difference for all of us. How do people get in touch with you? How do they get access to your services? If they are interested in this, how do they keep up with, sort of this process and what is going on with Legacy?
Well, thank you for the kind words and thank you for having me. For those of you who want to stay in touch, the easiest way is to check out the website. We're at givelegacy.com. Think about it as giving the gift of legacy. We're on Instagram, Give Legacy Inc. We're on Twitter at Legacy. If you just type in Legacy Sperm or Legacy Fertility, you will find us. Please reach out at any time, and I guarantee you will learn more than you ever thought about a topic you never thought you would talk about.
Yeah. Well, Khaled, thank you so much, man. I'm usually we hang out after the interview, but I know you got to go, so I'm just going to kill it right here, and I will see you on the interwebs, my friend. Thanks for being here.
Sounds
Appreciate
great.
you, brother.
Thank you for having me.